not have it yet.
As comfort from special organizations on Saturday.
We have a forum.
They wanted to meet for
We may
lunch
start.
Saturday. They left Saturday morning.
I did not hear from the person who said test. Whoever said that.
They said dinner Friday. Oh, wow.
Welcome.
Oh.
Good evening. My name is Kevin McElroy. You're at the Wilde Village Board meeting. We are going to go ahead and get started. We are waiting for a couple of more people on our board, but we do have a quorum sitting at the table, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for your attendance today. We are starting. The first thing on the agenda tonight is the approval of the agenda. There may be some updates. Anyone with an update to the agenda?
I would like to add the cul-de-sac beautification request that we received from Highland Road.
Good. Board, any discussion on bringing that to the agenda for this evening? No?
Yeah.
There is a discussion?
Well, I mean,
Okay, I'd like a motion. I'd like a motion to add this to the agenda for this evening. It's been moved and seconded to add the cul-de-sac application to the agenda for this evening. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Any other agenda items? No. Approval of the minutes. The minutes were sent out via email. Any updates, any changes? Carol, did you receive that one that I had sent through?
oh, the spelling, yes.
Fantastic. All I had noticed was that there was a misspelling of the name. It was spelled several times correctly. It's one time it said slip. So.
Oh, I see.
All those in favor, I'd like a motion first to approve the minutes as is. So I've got one correction.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes.
All in favor?
All in favor? Any opposed? No. All right. Thank you very much. All right, the next thing on the agenda tonight is the Wilde Lake Village Garden Contest winners. This is the 4th annual. Welcome.
Very excited to be here. Thrilled to have everybody here. Hopefully we have all the winners here. I'm Ann Wallace, and I'm one of the judges.
I'm Susan Hellegren.
I'm Wendy Van Antwerp. So we're going to do their presentations on PowerPoint and read the winners, and they're going to deliver the gifts. So, welcome. Yeah. It's a little tiny mouse. I'm used to a big tiny mouse. It's a little bitty thing. Oops, okay. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is very nice.
I think it's multiple clips.
Oh, there you go.
It's got the multiple letters.
Yeah. There we go. There we go. All right. This is a homegrown production.
Oh, good. And for some reason, the photographs didn't come through.
Oh,
I'm showing it here.
isn't that weird?
Okay, so anyway.
I'm
messing around on myself.
I'm
No, I'm not.
So, for Best Container Garden, we have an award for Melinda Mendel.
Right here.
Wonderful.
No, that's not
Yeah,
mine.
that's the
That's
next
not
one.
mine. Yeah.
I'm moving right along here, is that okay?
Sure, I think they want to get through faster.
Okay.
Right, Kevin?
No.
In second
We're
place,
ahead of time.
in second place, we, for shared space, is Amy Shirella and Mitch Vittillo. Amy and Mitch. Okay.
We need two people.
How about one big guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, one big dog. Yes.
Thank you.
Those are meant to be.
We did two, but we didn't sit.
No.
Just a little bit.
So our next winner is first place shared space, Tim Lowry. Is Tim here?
Pardon me, I threw my back out gardening.
Thank
you.
We feel your pain.
So, all the plants are meant for your space.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Great. Okay. Second place garden is Susan Kent. Susan lives around the corner. And
That's spring.
It's summer now.
we have the first place garden, Joyce Jacobs.
Miss Joyce.
We drive by your garden every day. It's beautiful. Why not just walk through it? Well, we did. We actually took a very nice long walk through it. It was beautiful.
Where was
Yeah.
I? I'm sorry I missed you.
Yeah. So we just want to thank all of the sponsors and the judges, including Susan and Wynn. Oh.
And so these are our sponsors who donated gifts. And Kevin was really great about soliciting the gifts from the sponsors, so we really owe him. And also want to thank all of the people who participated this year.
And I think we should thank Susan because she's the one who.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right. Wouldn't be the garden.
So thank you.
Thank you all very much. Yeah.
On behalf of the board, the Wilde Lake Village Board, we would just like to thank everyone, all the participants, all the individuals that refer others. There are a lot of individuals that we get new to the program on a yearly basis because someone knows of someone and they tap them on the shoulder and say, I'm going to submit you. Is that okay? And even if they say it's not okay, they still get in. So it's a beautiful program the way it works. I just want to thank the team, the judges. They gave up a lot of time this year to put all this together and to do the judging and so on. So thank you for the judges, everyone. Now, just, we do have a full agenda this evening, and on the agenda, just FYI, later on, is the introduction of our Wilde Lake Cares program. And one of the things that you might be interested as gardeners and as master gardeners, individuals that are interested in the environment, is that it is going to speak specifically towards a lot of different things that are going on within Wilde Lake that are going to help us come together and pool our resources to get things like rain gardens, stormwater remediation, and so on. And so we do have a team of individuals, experts at the table here. Rhoda Toback, who is our master watershed gardener. I'm sorry, Stewart. Thank you. And she's going to be talking a little bit about her program. And then again, the Wilde Lake Cares organization, which is environmental services here in Wilde Lake. That's Bess Kaplan. She's going to be talking more about that. So I invite you to stay. But we're going to go ahead and go through the rest of the agenda now, if you don't mind.
But if they don't want to stay.
But if you don't, what?
It's pouring. Stay for a while.
Pouring.
I'm testament to pouring.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for coming. I do
Thank you.
appreciate it. Melinda, Rich, it's always good to see you guys. Take care.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sam, congratulations again. It's good to see
Thank you,
you.
and my back thing.
I'll send it out.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, next on the agenda is the special guest is Jan.
Did you approve?
Kristen, do we have the representative from the pool?
It just looked like they're here, yeah. I confirmed that they would be here.
Okay, so we'll keep going.
It
Sorry.
please, board, and I didn't know that the Billy Center was closed, so,
That's all right, that's all right. I'm glad everyone made it. Resident speak out is next. At this point, do we have any residents that would like to speak out and mention anything at all?
Thank you. I didn't need to.
Well, as a resident.
As a resident.
We can share.
I realized I was doing it.
We're one big happy family here.
Please,
Okay,
as a resident.
as a resident, I think Wild Lake should, we should consider having either a Twitter handle or Instagram. I know Columbia has, I think they have an Instagram account, probably Twitter as well, but as I'm walking around Wild Lake and I see something beautiful or something interesting, or I'm eating a meal at Korean Kebab, I could take a picture of it and post it to our, whatever it might be. And then I don't really know how it works because I don't have either. But if you, I guess if you follow Wild Lake, then that would pop up on your own account and you could see what other people are seeing in the community. And I think it's social media. We should be tapping into social media a bit more. I know we have a Facebook page. But this is just kind of another, a quick way, and anybody can post to it. It doesn't have to go through, you know, it doesn't have to be somebody in the front office posting through Facebook.
Yeah, I do have a question, and that is managing the postings in the sense that somebody might, I mean, I hate to say that, but somebody might put something that's not appropriate.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I love it, but you know, there's that other
Absolutely.
dark side that worries me a little bit.
So I don't know how it works,
I don't either.
honestly, but I think
It's an awesome idea. I know that Kevin and I chatted about it briefly, Jeff, not that long ago. And ways for us to become more socially involved. And I think there are so many things that we can do, but some of them would be individually. We would just encourage people to post individually rather than trying to have a Wild Lake Twitter account and a feed and all of that. Because what happened was when we had the openings with David's, and there were photographs that were taken by the Howard County photographer, he said to me, I'm going back to my desk right now and I'm going to have these done, and could you get them on the Wild Lake Facebook page, and I'll have them to you before 4 o'clock, and I'd love to have them up today. Well, it turned out that day was the administrative arm of Wild Lake was not available to post them. So then we came into this situation where we need to visit the whole picture of social media as to how it applies to the village. And I think that's going to be one of the things that I know that you will definitely have on your agenda for the future.
Jeff?
Hey, Bess, with the Twitter and Instagram, it works similar to Facebook. So when people post things, they have a handle or an ID. So if someone puts something there that, you know, was inappropriate, you could track it back and block them or whatever. So it's very similar to Facebook in that way. So, I mean, it would be no different than someone posting something on Facebook that was inappropriate.
There are also ways to manage social media all in one at the same time. So there are ways to post, it's through a separate app, but that you can post to all three. So like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, so whatever you put out goes to all three, so it's not three separate things. So if you decided to have one thing, you could manage it through one person as opposed to three different, or, a person having to do it three different ways. There's another organization I'm involved with, and I learned that from them, so I can get the name of it, but I know that they're.
need a high school student.
It's actually a college age organization, so.
Do you by any chance know the name of the program?
I could get it. I could find out, but I wasn't aware that, that it was that easy, and they said, so I can find out.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I suggest we look into it further, because each type of social media outlet, there's a different place for it. And something where.
Different tone too.
Right. I mean, so something I think like Instagram is really just photos. I mean, you don't do much more. Somebody correct me.
No, with bylaws.
With a small little description. So, I could text my delicious meal at Curry Kebab or something, and or walking Wilde Lake and I see a family of baby ducks, and
I
something.
wonder if there should be categories within that, dining and nature and, whatever, so that people, when they upload, their pictures, they would go into, they could put it into a category.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can categorize things.
I think it'd be easier to just leave it open-ended.
Is this an extra?
So that's
So-
my suggestion.
Listening to the conversation, it sounds like we're in agreement that it belongs with us, and we should start something like that. Next step would be to put it to writing so that we can pursue it. But we would also need to try to find someone to assist.
Would you email me when you have the name of the program and the app?
I think
Or just email
it'd
it?
be easier if there was someone who came in, and then somebody came and opened it.
We could all do it. We could all line from
That would be
the
great.
individual. All right, Kristen.
Yes.
From this particular resident speak out topic on Instagram, it sounds like the board is.
Well, either, I think we'd have to make a decision as to which one would be more.
Well, I just asked Amy to send me the information about managing them all at once. I mean, if it's a matter of just doing, I'm doing Facebook posts practically every day. So if there's some way that we can put them on Twitter and Instagram at the same time.
It's worth looking
Easy to me.
Sounds good.
Now, the other thing that I've talked to you about, Kevin, before is perhaps the board might want to think about having their own Wilde Lake Village Board Twitter account, so that, a board person would be doing that and doing board things, and maybe things
Right,
like
Jeff.
walking around.
With a board. That's not nice.
Yeah, I saw him with the device, I thought, oh,
Ron,
he's doing it right now.
I was just looking to see where there is in Wilde Lake.
All right, so that definitely is a worthwhile discussion. It sounds like we're all interested. So the next step for the agenda would be what at this point?
I just have a question, whether or not Andrea Wilmot would be a good person to train us?
Who is that?
Oh, at CA? I mean, she's trained us on Google Docs and stuff, so supposedly, but she might be a good person that could, or
I
somebody.
think 30 minutes just to walk through all of it.
It's
so we're
free.
on the
The
same
bottom line is to go to CA and see what they can do
I
for
think
free.
that's an excellent idea. Who makes that an issue?
I could bother Andrea, that's fine.
You bother Andrew?
Oh, all the time I do it.
And then we'll check our schedules and see if we can get a
Is
time when
she
she can
in
come.
communications or IT?
That's a good question. I don't know. She just handled the board training on Google Docs, so, and she's very nice, and she puts up with me, so she can't be that bad.
All right. Follow up with Nancy in a week and find out how it's going.
Okay.
All right, and then we'll do this via email, because it's most likely the easiest way to determine the best time that everyone's available. We'll meet here at some point in time, hopefully, and be able to get that trained. Get an overview of what all is involved and go forward from there. Any additional residents want to say anything, just bring anything up at all at this point? No? All right, residents? Yes, sir. Bill.
Thank you. We live adjacent to Bryant Woods Park, and every year we have issues with flooding and erosion in the park. Of course, this year's been exceptional. And over the 20 years we've been there, we've noticed the erosion has amounted to actually scooping out a bowl on the bottom end of the park. So it's water stands there now. It's doing the same thing to river. And I wondered if perhaps we could encourage CA to take notice and see if it's appropriate.
Where's the court? Where's the park?
Bryant Woods Park.
Yeah,
what is Bryant Woods?
It's by the pool.
Right
It's adjacent to the pool and to the grammar school.
Is there a tot lot there?
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's up toward, okay, it's,
They live on the corner and then right behind their houses.
Our backyard backs up to the park, we're at the corner. And so all the water from everybody.
yeah, no, I'm just trying to visualize where it is.
Right. We had a rain garden put in about 3 or 4 weeks ago, trying to at least have something that would get it once it's down there. But part of the problem is it comes all the way through the yard, so.
So it's overrunning.
I have videos of it's rivers coming through.
Have you called John?
Yeah, John's been out, and I actually sent him a video this last week because we had a discussion about putting some kind of drainage arrangement in the park, but I haven't heard back from him. But he was duly impressed.
And I spoke up because he suggested it.
Yes.
Good.
Right. He said if it's his initiative, because one level of attention, but if others of us bring it to the attention of the CA, then it gets more attention.
I'll include this.
That
I'll
would be
put this
great.
in a note too. Thanks.
so is this off of Blue Heron Lane?
No, it's Green
I
Mountain.
need an address.
Yeah, well, Blue Heron goes right down into Green Mountain. Blue Heron's up over the elementary school. So if you come back,
Right, facing it.
If you're facing Bryant Woods Park, there's a house on the right.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, the other, you went the other way.
okay, so you're winning.
It's between the pool and the.
And there's 10 or 15 acres.
So it's the only house.
Yeah, no, it's just
Street. Houses on the corner. Here, there's the park.
no, I agree.
We appreciate that. It's information like that, when it comes directly from our residents, it helps tremendously.
Yeah. Well, and we really love where we live and we love our garden and we really hate to see this happening.
Sure.
It's all the mud goes down into the storm drain and of course comes right out in the Wilde Lake.
And then we spend a lot of money
Dredging the
back
lake,
out.
yeah. So,
All right, well, thank you. Any other residents? Speak up. I'm sorry, as far as what we're going to do, it sounds like Nancy is going to be doing something on her end, and Bess is going to be doing something on her end for Wilde Lake. So we've got some different individuals, and Rhoda will be doing something through her sources also. So we have so many talented individuals at this table.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
We should mention a similar situation. We have a similar situation in Running Brook, runoff coming off of one of the top lots and.
You should see our video.
Yeah.
We're going to give
very-
a,
I'd like to see
we're
what's
going
worse.
to speak towards it later in the agenda. If you're able to stay a few minutes, we're going to be able to go into that in greater detail, not during resident speak up. Okay. If you can stay, we're going to talk about the situation. All right. Next on the agenda is discussion of complaints about noise levels at Meriwether Post Pavilion. Anyone want to have a discussion on that? Bring anything up? Any conversation?
The CA board is also going to be looking into it. We have an awful lot on our plate right now, and I don't know exactly when we'll get to it. It is a priority. However, unfortunately, not everybody's on board with this. I have to say, we hear it a lot. I live in the Birches. And I know a number of people who live in Wild Lake hear it rather loudly, but it seems, since all the noise about the noise, it seems to have gotten quieter. Is it just me, or have there been no concerts?
I think it's the type of music that comes. So when you get music with a loud bass, then you're gonna hear it more. So kind of the more electronic type of music, you're gonna hear it more. So when you'll have those kinds of bands playing, you don't hear it. And since that weekend, I don't really think we've had those kinds of bands playing.
And they're staying open later too, which is, you know, it seems like they're not having as many concerts, but what they are having, some of them are pretty, because it comes right through our bedroom. And you can feel it vibrate, which is, I love music, so I'm not, you know, complaining, but, you know, it really is, and I feel bad for people living in the metropolitan, and all the roads that are going downtown. That's a problem, so.
It would be okay if it was music.
Yeah.
Well, if you choose to listen to it, it's great. If you have no choice, that's my complaint. When you're put in this position where you have to listen to it, that's another story. But
My suggestion, I think we've probably talked about this before, is that CA or Howard Hughes hire an acoustic consultant to do modeling and understanding, especially before they do the changes that they want to do, which will modify where they're going to put speakers, and there's got to be some modeling of that and understanding so that.
right, we've requested that, yeah.
Any other individuals want to speak on that topic? No?
I'd
Yes.
like to speak on behalf of the folks who don't have a problem with it. I think that there are a lot of people that you hear many complaints because sometimes the folks that have issue with it are louder and more apt to say something, wherein the folks who are who appreciate that, and it's one of the reasons that brought us to where we are in our home. I would just like to say that there are plenty of others who think it's a wonderful thing. When I hear the sounds, it reminds me of summer and how happy I am that I live close enough to someplace like that. And it really is truly one of the things that we thought was so neat about this area. And so I just would like to say there are some folks who really embrace it, and not every kind of music is my favorite kind of music, but even if it's a faint thump, I just love to be able to know that it's right in our backyard.
I agree, because I grew up here in the house where I live now. I bought it from my parents. And so I grew up with it every summer, and I always look forward to that because, like Amy said, to me, it means it's summertime, and I sleep with the windows open. And also, like Amy, I don't enjoy all the genres of music that play there necessarily, but it really doesn't bother me. It ends at 11. You know, I feel like it's summertime. It's okay. I also hear the music at the park, at Centennial Park. You know. It's just one of the sounds of the summer, like the frogs and the cicadas.
And the airplane.
Yeah.
Part of it.
Crickets.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your opinions. Anyone else? No? All right. Next thing on the agenda is the request for ARC Resolution 5609 Thicket Lane. Is Carl going to?
Yeah, Carl's on his way, but we thought we'd be a little bit later on the agenda, so.
We'll come to it when he arrives. The next thing on the agenda is request for funds from the Village Contingency Fund, Village Staff Salary Study. Kristen?
I don't have much on that. But we're asking the village managers, are asking to access the village contingency fund. Okay. This time for salary study for the employees. The last one was done in 2007. So we're a little bit far behind. Usually I think it's done about every 5 to 7 years, so we want to get it started. Then the CA just did a big salary and compensation study. So we're asking for $35,000, which is a roundabout figure. We don't know exactly how much it will be, but last time it was done, it was $25,000.
And what are you asking for the board?
Oh, to request the funds from the village contingency fund.
Oh.
To approve a request. A majority of the village boards have to approve a request to access funds from the village contingency fund.
I make a motion.
Who does that? Who does the study?
Last year was a company called Singer.
Oh, the Singer study? Of course.
I make a motion that we approve the request for contingency for the salaries.
I second.
All right, been moved and seconded. I have all those interested, all those that are in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. And we will do an RFP, once we get if this gets approved, we will do an RFP to get other companies to do that.
All right, request for operating funds to clean and recoat the dance studio floor.
Okay. Hopefully everybody got the memo that I sent today. We did get 3 quotes to do the dance studio floor. 2 of the companies we've used before, Master Care and Andy Breeden. Breeden was very, very high. Master Care was sort of in the middle. Wires floor service. Comes highly recommended from Town Center. CA also uses them, so we're comfortable with trying that out this time, and they gave us a good quote. So I'm asking for approval to spend $1,738.
Thank you.
Yeah. To clean and recoat the dance studio.
Here's the motion.
No, I'd like to ask a question.
Oh, sure.
When they did the floor, that we reported this, they did 3 coats and that was oil-based.
That was when they refinished it. We're not asking to do we're not asking to refinish the dance studio floor. As a matter of fact, that's why we want to really keep on top of cleaning and recoating it, because that protects it for longer, so you don't have to refinish it.
So
My question is, how many times can you do that? Or is that until it builds up that it has to be stripped down?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't ask that question, but they did say if you can keep it clean and keep the coat good, it helps maintain.
all you do is take it off the top coat. They just take it off the top coat.
Sanding off
So I
the top
assume you can
coat.
do
No,
that.
no, they're not.
They're not
sanding.
sanding. See, they're not
sanding.
There's nothing.
No, they use something rough.
Well,
Because I
yeah,
had
it's
that
not
done in
like
my
the
house.
refinishing. When
Yeah,
they
it's
did-
like they're not going down and sanding wood.
No.
It's
Right.
it's roughing it up and taking off the very
Right.
top coat.
Right.
I make a motion that we approve the request to redo the floor.
Second, anyone?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Right. Request for a donation to the Columbia Pedal and Paddle. Who would like to introduce that? Kristen?
Well, I am recusing myself from this discussion.
Okay. Did everyone receive the document regarding the Columbia Pedal and Paddle? If you don't recall, it is to benefit the Almond Cancer Fund for Young Adults. The 10th annual Dr. Sutterdick Columbia Pedal and Paddle is a charity event organized by Columbia Pedal and Paddle Incorporated. It's a 501c3 corporation. And this event is very, very unique because it's in Columbia. And it also has to do with, I see why. Yeah. It only can happen here. It says that it's a 45-mile bike ride through all 10 Columbia villages. The ride winds its way to each of Columbia's 23 23 outdoor pools where participants swim a lap before moving on. The event is pure Columbia, as no other locality in the U.S. provides so many pools as a community amenity. Most participants come from Howard County and surrounding jurisdictions, but we have had riders from Pennsylvania, Virginia, the District of Columbia, and even as far away as Colorado. The event has grown each year, and in 2014, we had a record 117 riders and donated over $4,000 to the fund. The namesake of this particular ride is Donna Sunderdick, who was a Howard County resident, teacher in the Howard County Public School System for over 20 years. As an English teacher at Oakland Mills High School, Ms. Sunderdick exhibited a passion for her students and went well beyond the classroom. She was perhaps best known as a teen mom for her famous chocolate chip cookies and positive life outlook. Prior to succumbing to colon cancer in 2009 at age 59, she graciously agreed to an association with the PNP and selected the benefiting charity. Our benefactor is the Ullman Cancer Fund for Young Adults, working at grassroots level to support, educate, connect, and empower young adults, cancer survivors. Since inception in 1997 by a Columbia resident, the fund has been working tirelessly at both the community level and with national partners to raise awareness of the young adult cancer issue and to ensure all young adults and families impacted by cancer have a voice and the resources necessary to thrive. Our organization was founded in 2013 to run the charity event. The corporation is run by an all-volunteer board and incurs no costs other than those hosting the event, such as liability insurance, food and drinks, and commemorative t-shirts. The board does not receive any stipend or other payment and employs no paid staff. We believe that what we collect should go to our designated charity. Since we began officially registering riders and collecting a related fee, we have donated over $10,000 to the fund. We proudly work with the Columbia Association of Princeton Sports to put on the event each year. The request, all right, listen. The request is, as stated above, to run the PNP with an all-volunteer group. The event fees we collect go to covering event costs with net collections going to Ullman Cancer Fund. Each year we remit 70 to 75% of the total collection to the fund. Unfortunately, as with any other event, our costs continue to increase, and we try not to pass these increases on to the participants. Any donations to the organization will be used to offset event costs and help to increase the donations we send to the fund. We look forward to working with the villages and would be happy to provide you with additional information. Let's see, there's an email address to answer any additional questions if interested. If we are interested, just send the form to Edward Schulder, who is the chair of the Columbia Pedal and Paddle Incorporated. That is it in a nutshell.
They're not asking for us yet.
They're not asking for any settlement.
Not that I saw either.
I did not see that.
Did not see that. Does anyone know Mr. Shoulders? Should we find out?
I know him.
I guess that's
I know him. Yes, yes.
So, I mean,
He's a nice guy. He's a very
I'm sure he's a wonderful human being and with a great heart
yes, indeed.
to be endorsing this. What would be a representative amount, or do we use the guidelines of what our contributions have been to the other organizations, which are this historical?
Anyone, any ideas? Okay, well, let me ask the first question. Are we interested as a board in supporting the organization first off? Yes, no?
The question is,
And
that I
then if
have,
so, then how much?
the question I have, as I put myself in that very large enough, which I've been eyeing the whole time. The number of organizations that have come before us that are not schools, that are institutional nonprofits, for want of something better, have made a request for space, if I recall, and usage of the building rather than monetary funds. And I'm having a struggle trying to remember if there's anybody else that's ever come forward asking for donations. Anyone here have a reference to them?
The Friday Capitals, the tutor, AOK.
Oh, the AOK mentoring, right. It's still an educational.
I I would say this is something that's worthwhile, but, no idea in terms of, I'd like to throw out the number of $100 just as
What that
a
would
place
mean.
to start.
Yeah.
They're covering some administrative expenses. The second thought is, why not put the money directly into the Elderly Cancer Fund?
It's a sort of a double-edged sword, because now that Kevin's read it and I'm looking at it here, I just remember my thought was, they need the money to operate, but then they're giving away the income that they generate. So that's the way nonprofits work. It's a question of whether you feel that we want to support Kettle and Paddle as a nonprofit for the work that they do and not take issue with where the funds go or how they use it or what their program is, in the sense that we're not funding their program, we're funding their operation to do what they need to do as a nonprofit. And that was my thought in the origination of it.
And they use 4 of our facilities, like the 4 pools.
Oh, that's true, they use our 4 pools.
Or wait, the 3 pools. Well, there's another pool up on.
Well, I had the same thought as you, why not just give them, you're basically supporting a race with this money, and why not just give it directly to the Ulmer Cancer Foundation, as opposed to the village board supporting this one race when we have lots of races that go through, we don't support the Clyde's 10K, and that goes through Wilde Lake. So I just,
My only thought is, it's certainly worthwhile. In fact, I know somebody who did this last year. But my concern is that there are many nonprofits in Columbus, and you just have to be careful opening that door, how you determine which ones, if we have a budget for that set aside specifically for nonprofits in the community, and how we determine which ones get the money. Number one, how much? Well, not number one, how much, that's probably the last thing. But is there money in the budget? And which ones do we decide to go with? And then we decide how much to give them. That's really, it's a policy issue, how you handle these requests. Because once you open the door, there will be more.
Let me suggest something, just listening to Nancy and what she just said. Would it be easier for us to support a couple of registrations and then donate them to individuals from our community, ask, in return.
We're kind of like making scholarships for people to do this.
Exactly.
So then it becomes more in line with what it is that we've supported in the past.
That's what I'm.
That's very holistic.
One way of doing it, that we do it for Wilde Lake residents. Is that what you're?
and will we do it on a need base, or how would the resident?
Right.
Would they do it?
Let you guys take it. I threw the idea
Well,
out.
that's just it. I mean, I'm very involved in Neighbor Ride, and I know that a lot of people in Wilde Lake use Neighbor Ride services. So then why wouldn't Neighbor Ride come and ask for a donation to help support people here in Wilde Lake? I mean, that once you, that's what I'm saying. And not that it's a bad thing. I'm all for this, but you just have to have a certain amount of money in the budget that is designated just for this purpose, and how you determine who gets the money.
Do we have money like that in the budget?
We have money in the budget, but it's generally been
schools.
stipends for the schools, educationally oriented.
Let me suggest that we, rather than, this is something that's being held this month, and do this decision now. Nancy's suggestion is about policy, and we should discuss, discuss policy in terms of nonprofits and how we want to handle nonprofits.
Yeah, I would not want to see, I mean, on one hand, it is this month and we don't have much time to make a decision. On the other hand, I would hate for you to do a knee-jerk reaction to say, yeah, let's write them a check. I would love to give them a check for $500.
Yeah.
But if we have 10 more people come in or organizations come in, are you prepared to write checks for $5,000?
We'll take it out of your salary.
My salary? All that money I'm making?
Okay,
Oh, well.
do I have a motion? One way or another?
I don't see that this money, this donation of ours, time is of the essence. I see this as a donation that will help this organization move forward and continue, as opposed to, that way that the rest of the board is looking at it. And being that I see it that way, I would say that maybe this is something that we all need to think about, because it doesn't seem like anybody's prepared to make a decision. Unless you want to make a decision, and I think that we should just table this till next month. Because if we donate $100 or $250.
Flash flooding.
Oh, flash flooding.
Oh, my goodness.
Is that a tornado warning?
No, flash
Everybody's
flooding.
device.
Everybody's is gonna go
Mine's
off.
gonna go off.
Oh, flash flood.
Yeah.
Unless, because we need to, we have a line item that deals with gifts and donations. Then we need to look back, if you want to make this decision tonight, then we need to look back and we need to review what that policy says, as Nancy suggested.
So if we're afraid to open the gates to organizations requesting money, doesn't the same apply to schools? I mean, we give money to schools.
There are schools in Wilde Lake,
That's true, we have a limited number of
and
schools.
that's,
in Wilde.
and it's been a tradition to do that over the years. So I think that's already an established priority.
I suggest that we table this and then we, have a discussion at some point, and probably not as part of the board meeting, as a separate meeting to talk about policy.
I already suggested that we table this.
You didn't use that word.
What?
You didn't use that word.
What, table?
We just made a motion.
Oh, did you just make a motion?
He just made a motion to table it.
Okay.
But you're saying not just to table it, but to have a separate meeting to discuss policy. That's a,
Well, that's a possibility.
okay.
No. I make a motion that we table this at this time.
I'm sorry, Kristen.
This is not personal.
Okay.
All right, so my understanding is that Jeff has made a motion to table this to a further discussion. There is a question, however, about what's going to bring it back up again. And that, I think we need to determine before we just cut it off.
We need a second on Jeff's motion.
I second.
We'll second it. All right, so the discussion, any discussion on the motion before we take the vote? Any discussion on what it is?
Yeah, I think we need to just as you said, there's no question, you have to decide how you're gonna handle this. Is it going to be as a,
But that's not on the vote.
Okay.
The discussion is really whether or not to table it. That's what the motion was,
Is
and that's all we're
discussion
voting
to
on.
table, is there any discussion on tabling? No? All right. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? Any abstain? No, all right. There's an abstention. Abstention. So I'm voting with this group to table. I think we do need an additional motion as far as carrying this forward, though. What would be the next step as far as looking at?
Rather than the motion, one. Or we
Not a
discuss it
motion,
by
not a
email.
motion.
What are we kind of,
The policy piece?
yeah, and let's, we're gonna have to work on a policy.
All right, guys. Look forward to Jeff
So that would be an action item.
information about policy. All right, the next item on the agenda.
Somebody's got the late word.
It's very late. Is neighborhood representative committee mission and statement. of goals.
Carl's here.
Oh, Carl, of course, of course. It's always so good to see you, Mr. McClung.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. We moved ahead very, very quickly this evening. So we are now asking Carl to tell us more about the request for the art resolution for 5609 Pickett Lane.
This house has been an ongoing problem since Kristen's days. And Mr. Thomas, more than a year ago, applied and received approval to do some renovations. I suspect that he wanted to make this into 2 rental units into 1 building. And it has never, the job has never been completed. The construction debris is all over the property and some dirt that was excavated. Now it's almost like a permanent landscape feature because it's so I sent you pictures last month to the board meeting, and I visited the property this morning, but I didn't take any more pictures because I don't think anybody's even been there in the last month. Nothing has changed whatsoever. And I have signed confirmation that the 15-day notice was received by Mr. Thomas, but he has made no effort to contact me, and he hasn't done any work on the property at all. So this is our last resort.
I've seen the house, actually, I know somebody who lives nearby.
I make a motion that we refer this to the, whatever.
CA.
Just to CA for art resolution as recommended by Mr. McKinney.
Do I have a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All those moves. It passes.
Thank you. The ART meeting is next Monday.
Good.
Tomorrow I will distribute all the information to them so they'll have opportunity to look at the property before this. You're up at the top. Oh, and what I want to do is everything except mowing the grass.
Oh, okay.
This would flag the property so that the person can't vote in the village elections and can't use any CA facilities as well.
Check on board.
Yeah, everything except mowing the grass, which is the last one. Thank you, Carl. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Bye, Carl. Good job for the flood.
I'll let you know what happens.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, Wilde, Everwood Reps.
Some of the same slides I emailed. I don't need to edit to.
Thanks, Carl.
I'm gonna say it one more time. So, once Kristen put up, if you guys think it's okay, please give me a book. Kristen?
It does not sound out.
Or was it? Oh, well, but if once it comes onto my desktop, it's deleted from the.
Would you want me to turn the lights down? Or?
What are we doing?
Thank you.
That's dangerous.
Is it safe for the home audience to need the lights down?
Yeah, that's right, for the broadcasting.
Oh, can you do the other lights? Do the back lights. Thank you.
All right, so this is the same slides from the board retreat, neighborhood rep or TIV. So correct that.
Don't go ahead.
Oh, you're gonna, that's all.
No, it's just
We're thinking.
here we go. So the slides includes the neighborhood rep, mission statement, goal, and purpose. And some tips for neighborhood reps on how to maintain your street, not really maintain your street, but to inform residents about what's going on within the village. I sent it to Kevin, Jeff, and Rhoda, S, Nancy for comments. And I'd like to say thanks to everyone for your input and your review and editing. It's pretty much the same slides. I added the comments that were made by each of you. So I'd like to save the board time instead of just going over slides to slides. And let me know what you think, if it's good for the board approval. And move on. Or I can go through each slide.
Why don't you just
All right.
go through the slides?
All right, so this is the purpose, in the neighborhood reps committee to form an ongoing connection between the Wilde Community Association and Wilde Village residents. So to disseminate and receive information to and from neighbors to build strong community relationships. Next slide, the goals of the committee. Have at least one neighborhood rep on every street in Wilde Lake. Host at least one neighborhood community get together each year. So the goal of that, the second goal is to bring reps together and try to show some appreciation for their time and their service, the volunteer to the village. Third goal is to show that all neighborhood reps are actively involved and engaged in our community events. So that includes the old-fashioned picnic, events that are going on at Slayton House, try to get the reps involved in those activities. Engage new residents using welcome packages. I'm going to elaborate on that. So, for example, if a property gets sold, some new residents move into the village. My goal is to work with Christine to get the information and have like a little basket that will include information or maybe sticky notes, postage stamp, pen, bags to present to those new residents. It's almost like a sign of opening our arms, stretching our arms, saying you're welcome. Welcome to Wilde. We're a family. We're a community. Next is our mission statement. It says to facilitate two-way communication between our neighborhood residents and Wilde Community Association for the purposes of enhancing community spirit, fostering greater community awareness, and promoting participation in neighborhood activities and projects. Thanks to Nancy for the tips. Thanks to Rhoda and Jeff for the editing. Appreciate it. Vision statement to help build community more Wilde Lake. I think this falls in line with the village goals, vision, and mission statement, all of that.
Can I just add one word?
Yes.
I would remove the word help.
Yeah, okay. To build community more Wilde Lake resident. Thank you.
So you really took a lot out.
The vision for the future. So we have a couple of visions for the future. One is to have one neighborhood rep on every street, and that's an ongoing vision. So that's actually the ultimate goal of the program, to try to cover every street within the village, not just a community, but every street in Wilde Lake village as a whole. I know it's going to be a difficult task to accomplish that, but I think it's possible. It's not impossible. We have young and energetic teens coming to college, the new resident moving in, so hopefully we can double our outreach effort. Kevin is doing such a great job recruiting new residents. Every time he sent me an email, hey, I just got a new resident. So I would like to say thanks to Kevin for his hard work. Next is resident engagement through neighborhood activities and programs. The second bullet involves me and everyone, each neighborhood rep working together, coming up with creative ideas on how to get residents engaged, not just neighborhood reps or residents. Try to make this a fun and exciting committee. And I also talked about the welcome wagon. I won't go over that again. Next is to recruit additional representative, neighborhood reps also. Conduct neighborhood rep surveys. So the purpose of the survey is to see how well the program is doing and to gather ideas from reps on like new ideas. What can we do to improve the program? Where's our next step? Where can we head? Which direction should we head in? Things like that. So it's not just a one-man show of ideas from every neighborhood rep out there. Roles of the neighborhood rep. So let's just go over the roles of each neighborhood rep. Contribute ideas on to achieve mission and vision, forge strong relationships with neighbors, stay updated on village events, and attend when possible. So the third one, we don't try to force people. I mean, everyone has different schedule. People have kids, so if it's possible, you can attend. That's why we're gonna host multiple events instead of just hosting one event each year. So we host multiple events to give people, those that can make a chance to attend events that they couldn't make it to. Increase community spirit in Wilde, encourage others to participate in the neighborhood rep program, help distribute and receive information to and from residents. Organizing your street. So these are just some tips for neighborhood reps on how to organize the street, create your email distribution list. First is to introduce yourself to your residents, to your neighbors. I think that's some important stuff. So you have to get yourself out there, show yourself to your neighbors, introduce yourself, make them feel comfortable talking to you, and at least they know who to contact in case there's something they need to, a message they need to pass on to the board. They can easily reach you and you can pass that message on for them. Give out your contact information and collect your neighbors' contact information. Provide your ideas on what Wilde Village Association could be doing, what are they interested in. So the next goal is create an email distribution list for your street, which is also important because that's how you're gonna share information with your resident, information that we receive from the board, and information that I receive from Kirsten, I pass on to neighborhood reps, and you in turn pass that information on to residents. So it's very important to have an accurate and updated distribution list. There are times where people will move, new residents will come in, so it's always good to always reach out to them and ask them for the information. I notice people are very hesitant in sharing their information, their email addresses and stuff. So you may have to be creative in trying. I mean, you don't want to scare them, like make a requirement. You can use other means to get some sort of way of adding them to your distribution list. Something like that.
Well, one thing I would suggest is if people are hesitant, the neighborhood rep should use BCC. So you're not distributing everybody's email address.
Yeah, so with the BCC, initially we used to do that in the past, and what I found out with BCC, it eliminates interaction between neighborhood reps, because I'm not saying, if I want to reply to a discussion, the BCC forces me to reply to the sender instead of including, so it sort of eliminates the
No, what I was saying was, if you're saying some people are hesitant about their email address, in that case, they should let it be known. And use BCC for that.
Okay, understood. Next bullet, help distribute and receive information to and from encourage us to participate in the neighborhood rep program. This is just an updated list of neighborhood reps we have right now. In Bryanwood, we have 22 neighborhood reps.
We have 2 members.
So I can't update that. Brian will charge will be 23. Kevin's supposed to send me a name of someone he just recruited, so I'll add to the list. Then for Faulkner Ridge, we have 9 neighborhood rep. Running Brook, 10. Running Brook Purchase, we have 2, according to Ness. So that's it.
So is there a way that, like, on the website, or is there some way that if you're a resident, you go on the website and see who your neighborhood rep is?
That's good.
That's a good
Contact
suggestion.
them.
Good point.
Excellent.
I mean, even if it's one of those forms where, you know, for West Running Brook Road, even let's say the neighborhood rep didn't want their emails or even names posted, you could have a, you know, West Running Brook Road, contact neighborhood rep link, and it would automatically open an email that will get sent to me. But I think
Well,
there's
well,
ways
just
to
a
do
contact
it.
link. If you're interested in communicating with your neighborhood rep, just a contact form, and just put your name in here, and someone will be in touch with you, kind of
Just
thing.
pass it on.
Well,
Just
but
make it
that's-
very general, and then don't have to break down each individual neighborhood and street and be responsible.
I guess I was just, it would be neat to see as a resident, I mean,
Who the reps are.
well, or just if my street's even represented,
Right.
rather than sending some form into the abyss.
Maybe that's a question we can ask, you can ask all the reps,
Yeah.
is, would you mind? Because I would think that they're reps because they don't mind.
Right.
That would be my guess.
If you put it on the website, it's public knowledge.
But that's, I
It's
mean,
I would say to list the streets that have representatives, and if you want to know your neighborhood rep, you could contact Bula and get that information. The Bula's email.
but at least list out the streets.
Then that would be a
and all
good
that.
way for people to know that their street is not
Represented.
represented.
You
And
can
say,
do that.
hey, then, wait a minute, I see that the Darting Bird doesn't have anybody on it.
Well, I think going out and asking the reps if they minded their names out there, and if they minded their email addresses. The email addresses up there needs to be scarfed up by, the things that do searches.
Well, that's why you'd have to have it hidden. So you wouldn't just post my email address on there, maybe you post
Well-
my name or Running Brook representative. and then-
Board, I'm sorry, we're getting way beyond, this is another discussion. Tonight was just to go over the mission and the vision. As far as the details and the real fine tuning, I think we can do that through emails and just.
Yeah, that's part of the Survey of Monkey phones and people where to gather input, and I think it's a great idea of this.
You know, I think as a
Excellent.
neighborhood rep, I think that's a great suggestion. I mean, you see things differently than people who are not neighborhood reps.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Great ideas, everyone. Are we prepared to take a vote on this evening? I'd like a motion, if we can, for this particular organization to be adopted as a full-fledged committee for Wilde Lake Village Board.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept the neighborhood representative committee mission and statement and goals as a committee of the Wilde Lake Village Board.
Got a second?
I'll second
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
So now I can start working on all the beautiful things on this.
Anything? And all the suggestions.
Starting with this, rebuilding the welcome wagon from the ground up.
Absolutely, absolutely. Next on the agenda is just an overview of the Wilde Lake Cares,
Jeff, you want to bring this?
Ms. Bess Kaplan.
So I wasn't going to present anything, I just haven't had time to make any changes. So I'll just give an update, we can show the PowerPoint that I presented at board creation.
And I think Jeff would be very interested in seeing what you got.
Yeah, I'll catch up.
So I'll just update where I am at the moment with the committee. We have our first meeting on July 27th. Kristen, is there a way to see if we could hold it here? Otherwise, we can do it in my drawing room at 7 p.m. I can't imagine there'd be more than 10. I've invited the woman who runs Clear.
Elaine Pardo?
Yes, Elaine. So she has agreed to come and talk about what she's done with that committee.
It's a fascinating story.
So slowly recruiting community members that are interested in participating on this committee in some way. So we'll know more about that at the end of July. And I really wanted input from the committee members into the final mission statements and goals. And that's one of the reasons I kind of hesitate to have us vote on anything today, because that would just be kind of me saying this is what it should be rather than the residents having input. So I'm going to suggest that we wait on voting on adopting the mission statement and goals until I have a chance to run by.
And all the varieties of names.
Well, so we've been using, there's one name that I've been using in my communication. So if you could just go to the second slide. Oh, yeah. So just to remind everyone, these were the goals and objectives that I presented at the board retreat. So the 2 goals: to enhance the environmental integrity of Wilde Lake Village and to ensure responsible use of open space. If you go to the next slide, please. So some of the campaigns that this committee will hopefully be tackling are things like landscaping. Promoting kind of responsible landscaping practices, dealing with invasive species in our open space. I did complete the Weed Warrior training recently, so now I can lead groups of volunteers to remove invasive species in any CA open space. I don't need permission, and I can just go and do it.
My neighbor's yard.
So have your neighbor contact.
They're meeting on your front lawn.
So the idea is just, this is an open space program, so you can do it in open space, and maybe your neighbor will be walking by at the time and will ask me what I'm doing. Stormwater, so looking to Rhoda to kind of take the lead on the stormwater education initiatives. One of our big projects right now is getting the budget approval for the bioretention facility in the Running Brook Outlot number 1. So we've been making progress on that. And then
Nancy will need to know more about that one when you get ready to describe that.
is that at my committee report, that'll be done. And then of course the open space recreation. So we want to promote responsible use of open space. People not feeding birds, not leaving fishing lines, trash, dog poop lying around, and also just promoting our open space and the variety of uses and recreation opportunities that there are in our open space. And it's not, we're not just a place to stroll on paved pathways. There's a lot of really unique opportunities for recreation in our open space. So trying to work to promote that as well. And I'll be working with the Columbia Families of Nature to try to bring in some programming into Wilde Lake Open Space this fall, hopefully continuously. Potentially energy efficiency. So these are the campaigns I'll be bringing to the attention of the committee members who attend on July 27th and getting their feedback and trying to figure out what's important to our residents and moving forward with mission statement goals, final goals and objectives from that one. So all of you are welcome to attend. I remember that.
I said yes.
We're sure. 7 p.m. on the 27th. Hopefully here, but we'll see.
Yeah, I called to see if there was a room reserved, and she said no. So.
I haven't been. I've been behind on this. Yeah. So that's it. And the name, I think, unless there's huge objections, I've been calling it, go on to the next slide, please. The community action of resources for environmental stewardship. So action, I mean, we want to be out doing things, proactive, and resources. We want to be a place people come to for resources. So that's that.
Thank you very much.
I agonize over that.
Any questions for Beth? Any questions for Beth? All right. Thank you, Beth. Appreciate it. Cul-de-sac application. It's the next item on the agenda. We're almost done. We're almost done.
Yeah, that was it.
Who requested it?
Peter,
Bruner. Oh, Peter Bruner, yeah.
Yeah, this is a request. Carol emailed it. This afternoon. Did everybody get it?
Yeah.
Take a look at it.
Are you allowed to comment on it? Okay, I did have one comment about the plant selection. Can we ask to see an alternative to the spirea? Or at least for them to indicate what species, because some of the Japanese spirea is an invasive, it's not, I mean, it's not just a non-native, but it does spread, and I think we should be more vigilant about, for things like this, where we're actually sponsoring something to avoid putting in plants that could then spread into our open spaces. Yeah, this is my problem.
Okay, so are there non-invasive spirea?
Well, so there's like 100 varieties of spirea. So there's apparently several that don't propagate, or at least not readily. I have no idea if they even be available commercially. So my suggestion might be to look into an alternative and tell them why. And you know, maybe suggest that they either contact me or take a look at this publication either here or online, or to just pick an alternative that, you know, they Google the name, it doesn't come up invasive species of Eastern.
So spirea is an invasive species.
Yeah, I mean.
Varieties within the
Spirea
spirea
family. I mean, it's big, but it's not taken over.
Right, so there's 100 varieties of spirea.
It's like ferns.
Yeah, so if you just say fern, it's like, well,
Which
what
kind?
kind of fern? So,
Fern would be a great, it comes back every year, that would be a good supplemental.
and it's, you know, if they want, suggestions, you can have them contact me or, Rick Master, you know, the Howard County Master Gardeners. There's a lot of resources, but, yeah. I mean, the azaleas aren't gonna, you know, they're not gonna go wild. The rhododendron's not gonna go wild. If they were planting something like daylilies, that would be another red flag for me. Yeah.
And I have a recommendation on a tree. I know why that tree was suggested, is because that tree, it grows at the end of the street. It's in my former home. That tree was planted in another lifetime. And it grew so huge over a 30-year period, that weeping cherry, that the BG&E company had to come and they actually sawed it almost in half because it took over the right-of-way and they couldn't have access to the right-of-way. So my suggestion would be, if they're interested in doing that particular tree, they put in a dwarf version of it, because it would be charming on the cul-de-sac. But the actual version of that tree itself would just totally encompass the cul-de-sac in time. And, you know, even prevent access, visual access as well. The concern that I have with the tree itself, or any trees on the location, is pruning of them. And if there's a dwarf, then that's manageable by the committee. If it isn't a dwarf, then you're gonna need ladders and all sorts of things, because it's, really requires a tree pruning company to come on a yearly basis to manage that tree. So those would be the two main
All right,
suggestions.
so we have two conditions. I'm hearing alternative to spirea or native variety of spirea and a dwarf cherry tree.
If he wants some Joe Kyrie, I can give him some.
Must be cold in the back of the room. It's chilly up here.
Oh.
Swim practice just.
Oh, yeah.
That's what daddies are for, is to keep warm.
Almost there. All right.
Kevin, am I going to have time for my things?
Oh, we all. We're almost to Jeff now. Just wanted to clarify, for the cul-de-sac, we haven't approved it, or are we approving it with conditions? Because we do need to make a motion on this. So, it sounds like we're approving it at this point in time. So I'd like to have
I make a motion
please.
to approve the Highland Brook Road cul-de-sac application with two conditions.
All right, it's been moved to second, please. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
So what happens now if they say no to the conditions?
Well, we have to send it to the county. The county gets it next.
Oh, okay.
AC liaison report. Jeff?
In June, there were a total of 7 applications submitted, reviewed, and unanimously recommended for approval. And that's like one.
Nothing out of the ordinary, right?
Nope.
All right. Next on the agenda is, oh, I'm sorry, any questions for Jeff? No. All right. The Columbia Council Representative, Nancy.
The big news now is the budget. They need everything, all the budget requests by September 3rd at the latest. Because it's a big budget, it's gonna take a lot longer because this is a 2-year budget year. And there was something else I was gonna say and it just went right out of my head.
Our presentation of the budget from the village board, what we want, what we want.
Well, by September 3rd. And September 3rd is gonna be the public meeting on the budget. So if anybody does wanna come and testify, that's the time to do it.
Do we have anything? You know, the request that was made last year about replacing fixing up outside here, has that been funded?
Well, I was gonna talk about that during the running report.
Okay, there you go.
It's coming up.
I don't know what else you all need to know. We're not having any meetings in August, which is wonderful. And they're moving at the end of August, so,
August 22nd.
they need time to move up, to prepare for that as well.
Is there going to be an open house, Nancy?
There will be, but I don't know when yet.
Is the membership office moving?
Yes, everything is moving,
Okay. Do we know what's going in that building?
and nobody knows. I mean, Howard Hughes doesn't know yet. My guess is they're gonna have to do some serious work on the building. It's a shame, it's a phenomenal location.
There's some involved here. Anyway, Nancy, I did want to ask, do you have any idea what ever happened to the request to pave the parking lot over at the Wilde Farm?
Oh, I think it probably got deep six for money. It was just too, I mean, at the end, like last year when we were going through just a kind of a interim budget, several things got deep sixed because we just didn't have the money. So that was one of them.
Is that something that we need to reapply for as a board if we're interested, or
No, I think that's on the,
how do we
Does it
bring it
carry
up?
over?
well, I would bring it up again. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to bring it up again. And we ask for everything and anything.
I know Bess is going to be bringing up something that she wants to add to the budget very shortly. Just for my information and maybe for everyone else's, remind me, if we have 2 or 3 major projects on our list, do we sort of give ourselves, do we try not to submit more than one big project?
I would
Put them all out there.
put it all out there and
Okay.
see what makes the cut. I can't guarantee whatever will make the cut, but we can try. One of the big things that we're also looking at, of course, is the swim center and splashdown. And they presented us with an alternative, which was going to be like $20,000 or something. We kind of said, okay, now what else have you got? So we're hoping to hear, I don't know when that's on the schedule. It's not on the next meeting, but hopefully we'll hear more about that. But we know that within the next 2 years, they're gonna have to do something about splashdown.
Any questions for Nancy? Anything else? All right. Committee reports. Bess?
Sure. So, the bioregion facility at the tot lot, that's something that we would like to get on the budget schedule for, I guess, 2016, 2017.
So did John say that was 18?
Okay.
Didn't John say that was going to go in the watershed?
I'd
Budget
ask for it
schedule?
anyway.
No, it has to be from us. He told me.
Yeah, told you it has to be from you.
He will do it from his, right? He will do it from his level, but he said Wilde Village Board must present it, advocate for it, and put it on their budget so that when they come together.
It's
not our budget,
request.
but request, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Put in the request.
It is confusing. There's a lot of lingo.
So, so I guess we have to formally request it from CA, which again, I'm not entirely, you submit the budget request and then
What will happen is, hopefully, I would have thought it would have come last week, it didn't come last week, so hopefully it will come this week, is we'll get a letter from CA staff outlining what has been approved by the CA board for the budget process. The first thing that will be on the list will be a date that the village boards need to submit their requests for the CA budget. Generally, that is not, it's not till October, but it seems as if they're pushing it up because it's a big budget year, I guess. So it looks like that deadline will be September 3rd in order for the villages to get the request. So the plan for this board is that at the next meeting in August, one of the agenda items will be a discussion of all the things that we want to ask.
For you, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this will be one. Right.
And really think about it. I mean, I just throw things out at them and they seem to do it, but I don't know that that'll happen this year. I mean, last year I said we need more benches around Wilde Lake. And there was something else I asked for, and it absolutely floored me that those things showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the higher seats at the pools, the lounge chairs.
But see, but those aren't capital
They're not-
expenses,
no,
those are
but-
operating, so.
Really,
that's
the benches?
Yeah.
Oh,
They
okay.
don't cost $10,000.
Well, I don't know what they cost.
Right. So that's really, I mean, there's no harm in throwing those kind of things out because, you know, now people are thinking about money. But that's really what the focus is, right? Is
Right,
the capital expenses,
Right.
capital projects.
Just at this point in your presentation, I'd like Jeff, who's waited patiently with his daughter.
Gotta feed them.
Can we have Jeff just talk to the board about this particular project and why he thinks this should go forward, especially for Nancy's ears, so she can have a
Well, this
better
is running
understanding.
book, right?
Yes.
This is behind Snowy Ridge.
Reading.
Reading. Oh.
Yes, well, thank you. I won't take much time because I think we must know what's going on, but thanks to several members of our board, we have moved forward, and we're at the point now, we're having this discussion, but we have this runoff issue, which has been going on for several years. I brought it to your attention, gosh, I think it was January or February.
It was a while ago.
It was. It should have been a long time ago, but we are here now, and we have taken tours of other bioretention facilities. We've talked about it with our community members, and I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, we had any really negative comments or negative views of what we've seen, what we saw a couple weeks ago. And everyone seemed very excited and supportive of what we're trying to do with that bioretention facility beside the tot lot, adjacent to the tot lot. That would help a lot of the runoff that's taking place in our neighborhood.
And I've also found out that there's money for rain gardens, so if you're, anyone who's interested is in the cost share program,
Yeah.
apply and get that.
And several of the neighbors have contacted John McCoy.
That's
since
great.
We kind of initiated this.
Yeah, because we were limited to the number, so I wanted to make sure that that was gonna happen for you guys in the cluster.
Yeah,
You live on Reedy Brook too?
I live in Western, but
Oh,
It all
and you
backs.
back up to it?
I don't, but my kids play that a lot.
Oh,
And I mean, I just remember, it's my neighborhood.
yeah, I can do what I can do. I'll try.
That's all I can ask.
Yeah.
Sounds like a similar issue is being had by some of our other
Right,
residents,
right,
so
right.
it sounds very similar.
Yeah, and this is your second time here. Obviously, it's an issue because the kids can't play there safely.
It's amazing I just happened to have gone on the bus trip, the field trip, and so did Jeff. John McCoy took one of the CA buses, big bus, came to the neighborhood right by the top lot, loaded up all these neighborhood people. They all came.
Filled the bus.
We filled the bus. Filled the bus. We even had a few kids on the bus with us. And everyone got out at these different top lot locations and bioretention locations. And it was an excellent tour. John is fantastic with this particular group of people. I mean, he just treated us like kings and queens. But the main thing was that he was constantly discussing what the stormwater remediation program was. And he gave such a in-depth, detailed overview that we all came away from his tour with this great knowledge. And we feel like we're emboldened now to speak better for ourselves. And I think that's where Jeff is coming from at this point in time. He's so much more educated about this than I am because he's gone to so many more meetings. But
yeah, I visualized after going on the tour, you and I had talked about, we saw the first one and I think we both looked at each other and said, oh, this isn't what we had in mind. And then as we went through and saw several different kinds, then I actually pictured it in my head now. I've got a picture of what I think would look great there and work out really well after seeing a couple of others. So
great.
I'd like to, I think again, support from our residents in that area is good. So
super. Okay.
We're just here to try and keep it
Push
moving.
this along.
Exactly.
Oh, Nancy, can you tell Jeff what you need from the residents that will be with him if they come to a board meeting to advocate for this project?
If you do come, I highly recommend you come to a CA board meeting.
Sure.
Because they listen, they truly do listen, and it makes an impact. But what I would suggest that you or whomever comes prepares a statement that can be included in the minutes. That way we have that written statement, rather than just getting up and doing it verbally and whatever people remember, which isn't always accurate.
Sure.
That would be terrific.
And when would that be?
They're the second, well, there's this Thursday night and then the 4th Thursday of July. And then we won't meet again until September.
Okay, so you recommend one of the next couple?
I would definitely say if you could come by the next, if not this week, actually we won't be talking about this, and technically you're supposed to talk about what's on the agenda, but come anyway, and you're from Wilde Lake, and just get up and talk.
Okay, I'll check the calendar, and if, we have several residents who all said that, just let them know if they need to.
Bunch comes,
Yeah, I think
that's
we could,
even better.
we could probably get a bus full, so. I know that my wife and Mary Batula wanted to stick around for this part to show the support for this as well, but they all each had other meetings.
Well, that's okay. This group, it's not as important because they're not gonna pay for it, but CA is. And so if you show them really how important it is to the community,
Sure.
that'll definitely make a difference.
No, that's fine. I think we'll probably then maybe look at the second one to get a little more organized. This
Yeah,
is
do you
short.
think that he should come as part of the budget hearings or beforehand?
I'd come beforehand and put the bug in people's ear, and then I would come again on September 3rd, mark your calendar, because we will be listening to what the residents, what the villages, what everybody wants.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And again, thanks to the board for helping us out, and Kevin especially for getting some of the folks around the neighborhood. You really, I've heard a couple of times them talking about how you recruit people, and you're very good at it. So thanks again for taking care of your street.
reps out of it, that's the
I did.
question.
You did, absolutely. Saw that, and that worked in action, so. That's good, that was a good sound.
All right, thank you,
But
Jeff.
thanks again, everyone, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, girls, appreciate it. Thanks for letting us stay.
Oh, they're so bored.
Good night.
Good night. All right. Plus anything else?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much. Nancy, I'm sorry, Aurora.
Well, I have a bunch of things. On June 5th, Brian England and I, Brian is the chair, I'm the vice chair of the watershed committee and the advisory committee. And we had invited, I had invited Alan Kittleman back in the Greenfest to come see what we had done in the village. And I put together this tour, and basically what it did was it started with something that was a project that came out of a need for remediation during a renovation. So all of the projects that we took him to that needed work that had been done, that hadn't been done, wherever we had gone, there was a contrast between all of them because he's coming from a place of zero without any background or any knowledge or any real awareness of all the watershed issues. And so it started here in the village and we walked completely through the village and I pointed out all of the different initiatives that are taking place and how they work and how water drains and why each initiative came about. And it was great. He had several of his staff with him and Ryan and I, and we walked through and there were lots of questions. And then from the village, we went over to Great Oaks Way, then New Country Lane, and then Wood Ells Way. And Wood Ells Way, in all of these areas, these are projects that required a great deal of walking and going through to the Middle Patuxent environmental area to show where water had been an issue in a particular neighborhood or on someone's home or on some particular cul-de-sac, and then how that was remediated all the way down to the Middle Patuxent environmental area. So it was a pretty industrious couple of hours. And he kept saying, I'm okay with time. And he gave us a substantial amount, I mean, several hours. And came away, I think we all came away, especially his crew, with maps and so forth and understanding about what it takes. It doesn't just take somebody identifying the problem. It takes the person who identifies the problem. It takes folks at the Howard County level, and then it takes different offices within Howard County to make all of this happen. And the end result of it all is that none of this is any good without having a supportive system to keep the projects working. And that was the thrust of 2 out of the 3 that are right here, which leads me to something that I'm going to talk about today, which was something that came in. So this was an outstanding experience for all of us. And then I received an email from Reba Bryant, who is part of OK Roots, is her email, which is Roots, and she had an issue, this very, very long email, on her street that started in June of 2012. And the issue was that work had been done by on Cattersville Court in the corner of Green Mountain for replacement of pipes, the sewage pipes. And in the process of that happening, there were sinkholes that had developed, and there were other issues on the street, and they finally came and they filled them and they did what they needed to do to repair it. And during the repairs, there was a car that was parked that nobody knew who that car belonged to. And with that car sitting there and staying there, it prevented the maintenance to be completed as it was. And they left. The car eventually left, but the crew never returned. She kept calling and calling, and as a result of some oil and sludge and pieces of debris from the project, they all wound up at the end of her driveway. They were beginning to be dragged into her house. They wound up being brought in on the paws of her dog's feet. They wound up coming in on the bottom of the tires of the car, and then they wound up being in the garage. It went on and on and on. It's a pretty long email. And there was a case number, and she tried to follow up on it. And one day she called to see what the status was, and she was told the case had been dismissed. So basically, I got on the phone, and I just started making phone calls to the various different departments, and I decided to entitle it a pollution issue, where the water was coming down, and it was taking all of this with it, and going into the storm drains and polluting wildlife. And that was my tack to getting this done. And after calling any number of departments and people calling me back, and it didn't take terribly long at all, it got fixed. And and somebody had called in the interim to tell her they guaranteed me that they would call her and let her know that they would take care of the issue. And this was actually from a department that didn't even have a relationship with the project at all. So I think in Howard County, there are people they know one another, they're working together. And that for me was a really wonderful sidebar to this whole thing, is that the different departments are not sitting isolated, that they know one another and they work with one another to help one another with their projects. And she summed it all up by this email that came in, which was just really wonderful. Good afternoon, Rhoda. You did it. Yesterday I received a kind call from Mr. Tom Pickett. Said the crew would be out in a few days to clean up the street. Mid-morning today, I opened the garage door preparing to leave. I noticed the street had been cleaned and the mission was accomplished and everything was gone. And thank you so much for listening, acting, and taking care of a problem I've had to resolve. This concern would not have been addressed without your intervention, which was so kind of her to say. And I said, I didn't do it, we did it. It takes a lot of people to make something like this happen. So that was really nice. Then I followed up on the issue that was presented here about Partridge Courts, about their tremendous landscaping problems. And basically, it's a very extensive problem that they have over there. And I was able to share with Vivian Stevens that it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of manpower to fix all of that. And Partridge Courts doesn't have it. She said they're not real good with money. So I offered to find grants, and I have a couple of names that I'm going to be giving to her. She was very much open to that. I said, but you will need somebody to steward the grant. And if people are not real good with finances, the grant will be in name of the Partridge Courts Condominium Association, but somebody's going to have to step up separate and apart from your finance committee to make sure that you meet all the obligations of it if you should receive the grant and the award. Because it's basically the only way at this point. I'm very familiar with what they presented here at the last board meeting. That's the only way that that's going to get done, is with some professional help. And they understand that and they agreed to that. And Vivian was like off the charts that there would be a possible solution to her problem. And then the other was a woman that I met at Greenfest who had a rain garden that was put in, and she was beside herself because there were any numbers of issues with the cost share part of the program. And as it turns out, I was kind of under the impression that it had been recent. But if you have a rain garden that's put in by the cost share program, there will be a stewardship of that garden for about a year to make sure that the plants are working and the garden is working and everything is functioning as it should be. But this garden had been put in 3 years earlier. So as a result of the garden being put in 3 years earlier, it's out of the cost share program's purview. And with John, we're going to come up with some volunteers, maybe some watershed stewards or folks who would want to tackle this and give her some advice as to, what is that she could possibly do there. But basically, I indicated to her that there's names of companies that can come out and do this for not as much money as she expects, sort of small individual companies, and that they would be able to give her some quotes to help her maximize the space there and get what she needs to do so it could be thriving again, because it hasn't been maintained. So this is where I'm going back to, it's the same thing, whether it's a small issue that's on somebody's lot and there's been a remediation in effect, if the remediation is not maintained, then it fails to work in the end after all of that. And that's really the thrust of what I wanted to present here this evening.
Is that just for my information, for what you just said, those individuals that don't take care of their rain gardens, is there any solution or any resolve?
What they can do is let us know, and we can provide, as I said, names for people to help them. But right now, the companies that come out and do this are pretty expensive, and they're big companies. So there are some smaller concerns out there. There's two particularly smaller concerns, and they could come and just do some minor things and not have to take on a whole big, well, this isn't working, we need to fix this and do all this sort of stuff in there. So that's the direction that I reluctantly headed, because once you make a recommendation, you have to be very clear that you're only doing this because it's something word of mouth where we've seen this work before and you might want to try and receive a, entertain these people and see what they have to say, kind of thing, as opposed to big companies. Also, on another track, there are, in process, it is a process where there is certification underway for people who own rain garden landscape companies, and that they will be eventually certified like a plumber or electrician or whatever. And so that's underway. And there are courses that are being given, and the steps in that have come out for 2015 and 16, which is pretty cool. Yeah,
Rhoda,
good question.
do you see us as a board, or maybe I should say as our covenant advisor, starting to receive complaints about unruly rain gardens and what to do next about those? If we do see some of those coming forward, what do you think might be on the horizon?
I think one of the things that I have been wanting to do, and I haven't done it completely yet, I just did a cursory review, is to look at all of our regulations, because I know that I was part of a team of 3. We revised them and updated them. It's been a number of years, and I'd like to go in and do that, as has been done in 2 other villages, to include all of this sort of information as a catch basin for what should and shouldn't be done, as a guidepost when people begin to entertain these ideas. I think it's kind of like when you buy a new car, you think it's going to smell beautiful inside for forever. And at some point you open the door and it doesn't have the new car smell anymore. It's the same thing with the rain garden. First of all, it takes 2 to 3 years until all of those plants see themselves and starts to look like something, and they begin to function as a whole team together, using your team. But there's also a lot of things that are going on in other villages that villages have had to take steps through their guidelines. Yeah, so that's what's happening.
Any questions for Rob? Anything?
When you have a rain garden installed for the cost share program, they do provide you with a maintenance schedule, and they make it clear that it's your responsibility to maintain this thing.
Yeah.
So I think there could be some, language in those guidelines that could be used.
Then you have to read it, you know?
Well, yeah, you do. I mean, yeah, you do. And it's not very
Everybody
difficult.
difficult. I know it best is everybody wants a quick fix. I mean, John has told us some horror stories about the guidelines and, you know, what people's interpretations of the guidelines and, you know, not to put down what you're saying, but it's something that we can go back and revisit and certainly take a look at that in the question program, because I know that one of the biggest things that we did as a committee, as an advisory committee, was to look at the liability. We were kind of stuck in the liability section of the contracts. So, thank you for listening.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jeff? Committee report, anything else?
Yeah, the education committee is nothing other than think about it.
School's out.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
No? All right. Anything for Jeff or Will? No? All right. Kristen? Oh, go ahead.
Open space. What's the rule regarding swimming, like, swimming in the lake?
It's your own risk.
At your own risk.
Yes. And I'm seeing the fish that comes out of it.
Yeah, we walked that time, we saw a guy and his two sons swimming, literally. Yeah.
You can swim in Centennial
They were
during the
swimming in
races
Wild
and things.
Lake.
But I don't think that there will ever be races in Wild Lake.
Yeah.
So, I did, CA and they hired or are hiring a part-time park ranger, for lack of a better term.
Oh,
And this person's responsibility would be to ride around to parks, open spaces, Columbia lakes, and enforce the rules and guidelines. So in Wild Lake, that would be making sure people aren't fishing beyond where they're not supposed to be fishing, swimming in the lakes.
and feeding the wild.
Feeding the wild, yeah, the wildlife. So I heard that from
good to
Sean
know.
Tarball the other day. He let me know, so that is,
Excellent.
that person is in the process of being hired.
Maybe he'll chase the geese.
That,
It was
I
very
just-
strange, you know. It was seeming like it was normal, like they were in Rehoboth on the beach and just chilling, so.
oh, no, no.
Wow.
Now, there was that woman, I'm sure you've seen her if you spend much time walking around the lake, who feeds the geese.
Well, they ticketed her.
Yes, they did. I saw her be ticketed, and she has not been back, and this was several weeks. Yeah, thank goodness.
I saw somebody hurting the geese yesterday.
Hurting them
Yesterday?
or hurting?
Hurting. Well, I had one dog, and the woman's behind him, and she's going, "Come on, move, move, move." And I said, "You guys hurting them?" It's just resident. I just don't.
CA also hired a new ghost chasing company to come out with dogs in the
Oh,
morning.
They're kind
And
of
the
geese
dogs
place. Yeah, I
chase them
saw.
away, and then it's supposed to keep them away. I don't know if it works, but that,
They've
they
done it
hired
in the
a
past.
new company.
Yeah, they used to have a dog.
They were cleaning the path the other day, and it was really fascinating to watch them with the high power water and cleaning the path. And within one day, it was like they had never been here.
They have
Wow.
to do it every day.
The one
So
day.
gross.
You ride, I ride my bike, and the geese are right in the path, and they don't move.
No, they don't.
No, and in the middle of the street with your car.
They don't move. Hit 'em.
Any other committee reports, updates? No, Kristen? Manager report.
Well, I was hoping to report that the leak had been taken care of and that we were making arrangements to have a temporary patch until it could be fixed permanently when we were shut down. Well, clearly that is not working. So I'll be
pouring earlier.
raining
It was coming down.
tomorrow, but I mean, you know, I don't know anything about the roof. I have never been up on the roof. I have no intention of going up on the roof, but it certainly seems to me that we need a new roof because we've had roofers here who have spent probably 12 to 16 hours in the past week and a half.
Wow.
And it's still leaking.
Yeah.
Your
How, do you
rain
know how
garden up
old the
there.
roof is?
They said it was like, I think they said it was like 20 years old.
Who said that? I mean, we don't, we don't do the.
Right,
routine
CA would
and
know.
CA, yeah, what has those records, but, we just can't.
No.
So on another note, things go on. We did reschedule the art reception that was canceled because of the first incident, July 26th. Right here. Mary Poppins is happening this week, so if anybody wants to go on Thursday or Friday, just let me know and I'll have tickets set aside for you.
Oh, really?
Yes, of course.
Oh, that's nice.
It's gonna be fun.
7. It's completely G-rated for all ages.
Sing along.
It's not a sing-along, but the kids are having a great time. The counselors are doing a great job. And
Where's it playing?
here,
Right
here.
there.
It's the Camp of the Arts production. Yeah. So, but do let me know so I can make sure to have some tickets set aside for you. Jan Clark, she's the landscape architect at CA. I've invited her to come to the August meeting to talk to us about what she's got planned for the Village Green. She has shared with me a very preliminary drawing. It looked pretty neat to me. So I've asked her to come and share that with the board. In addition, I've asked her to come and talk to you about the problem with the bamboo at Wilde Lake. We've gotten some resident complaints about the bamboo encroaching. And so they periodically, CA goes in and kind of trims it back, but I mean, it seems like the more you trim it back, the faster it grows back. So Jan said the problem is, it's not, you can't just go in and take the bamboo out. There's so much there that it actually, I don't know what exactly needs to be done, but it's a big project to take it out and then sort of rebuild it.
Wow.
And so I've asked her to come and talk to the board about what needs to be done, and that could possibly be another thing that we would add to our list of requests for the budget.
It's actually cracking the wall, that section about the evidence.
It's
Yeah, it's a real problem, and CA is quite aware of it, but again, it's a money issue, and so I think the thought is if the board saying that's with the bioretention facility, if the board can get behind this and support the staff's recommendations for whatever needs to be done there, that would be helpful.
There's also in Faulkner Ridge, behind, what's his name? Peter? You know Peter. On Faulkner Ridge, right there where you.
It's either knocking on the roof or knocking on the door.
CA's here repairing.
Those houses, they might be trying to fix it. There's a huge, somebody had put bamboo in their backyard for privacy, and of course it spread, needless to say.
So bamboo would be on the top.
The top of the list.
Do not plant.
Yeah.
I mean, we could ban people from planting that.
There's something in the newsletter about that too, just to prevent anybody else from.
There's some that backs up. Yesterday goes down your,
If you
Yeah.
have to maintain it.
Yeah, my neighbors have a patch,
There's
and
no
I
bamboo.
cut it down every year and I use the poles for my
It's
husband.
the,
And I
flex
was like,
goes up
geez, you
each
have
road.
somebody enough.
You
That's
grab-
awesome,
Yeah.
yeah. What I've seen other tips for what people do with that is they use the stalks as their poles for
Yeah.
for their tomato plants and other things. They repurpose the bamboo.
And then my kids.
But then it
Talking
about
roots.
native plants,
Yeah, you
I
have to
do
do
have
that.
these two guides
Yeah,
that
or
I
use Roundup.
received from the University of Maryland Extension Howard County office. These are fantastic, these books. So we have them here, we're gonna let people know that they can come and borrow them. This guide is also available, the whole thing in color.
It's on.
Online, which is great, but it's kind of nice to have the
What's it
hard
called
copy
online?
too. Native plants for wildlife habitat and conservation
conservation agent.
Okay, oh, yeah. I would
Pest
love to.
control.
It's fantastic.
That would
I mean, I
be
sent
Lake
that.
is in my manager's report.
Kristen, anything else for us?
I can't think of
So out of this meeting, we have at least 2 projects to go into the talks to CA, right? The roof, obviously, bamboo and
The roof will be
file
done
before
retention.
fiscal year 17.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's got shade, guys.
It's an urgent
It's
situation.
urgent.
So is that something you need us to do as a board? Okay, I wanted to make sure. Yes.
The complaints about the runoff at Bryant Woods Park, is that another opportunity for a fire retention facility that we?
That's open space, needs to take a look at that, they need to take care of that.
Well, but it's the same as the tot lot in
Exactly.
Running Brook, so
Right.
kind of, and John McCoy he's already aware of it, so maybe getting in touch with him and seeing.
I've just sent a message to Dennis, Matt, and John McCoy about Bryant Woods Park and about Reading Brook.
Well, why don't we put that down as action items, for the future?
If we're gonna request one fire retention facility, should we be
Well, I thought,
two?
are there going to be 2 fire retention facilities?
Well, there's the one that we're requesting at the.
No, but I mean, are there going to be 2 small ones, or is it going to be 1? When you went on the tour, what did John say?
One.
You think it's 1, not 2?
But what he said, would be very clear, was that he would leave the design up to the engineers. So, yeah.
Just curious, because the original.
Anything?
Because of.
Right. I was just joking. I said, this one's to Jeff. He's looking at his watch. And I said, Jeff, I hate to tell you this, but I got 20 minutes coming up. He said, no.
No, you don't.
You're talking to yourself. For the guests at home, thank you for dealing with us. We have had a great time up here working on behalf of the residents at home. We have another storm coming and we have all kinds of rainwater coming in the building. Kristen, anything else for Kristen and the manager report before we go on?
I do have bank statements.
Excellent, bank statements. All right, next up is the board chair. I just wanted to reiterate on behalf of the art gallery that we are looking for additional artists to display their works. If you know anyone that's an artist, or if you have any connections, I have them get in touch with our gallery manager, who is our director, Carol Black. The next thing is the block party grants. I wanted to make sure that Wilde had our support in telling anybody and everybody on any street in Wilde that block parties are great things to have, and if they're interested, we do have some block party grants that are available.
And what is the grant?
$25.
$25, and it's a reimbursement, you submit your receipts. I've done it a few times, and it works out very, very nicely.
We could get $100 for doing like 4 streets, right?
So how do I get the information on the application process?
The application can be through Carol.
But you can also
I'll email
get,
you.
I can, I'll get you one right now.
you can also get between $50 and $200 from the county for block party. That you used to, I know people who have done it in the past. They're not necessarily people I can contact now, but I do know that was an option.
That was good. Sorry. I just wanted to let, the 2 people I need to tell are gone, but I'll just let you guys know. The Columbia Flyer Building, my understanding, I talked to a couple of people at the county. The Columbia Flyer Building, the county executive has asked the county council to declare a surplus situation for that building. They feel that he feels it's too expensive to repair the building for what they were thinking about repurposing it for. So at this point in time, if the Howard County Council declares it surplus, then it will be put up for sale. And then there is no control at that point in time on what becomes of something on the other end. And if you remember from last year, one of the things that I advocated for was a pathway between Wilde Lake and Tucson. Well, the whole idea was we ended up with the county at the other end, and they were recipients of this great walkway. But now we have a walkway being built over at Wilde Lake Middle School, and we're not really sure what's going to be on the other end. So I've been told if we, as a board, want to advocate for a little more knowledge on what's going on a regular basis, that we really should attend some of the county meetings. And the next one when they're going to discuss this is July 13th. So most likely I will be there, and I can give you guys an update or a report on it. Yes, ma'am.
When did the Kimco thing all started? Yeah, I guess it was just before I got on this village board. There had been apparently a lot of inaccurate information out there about including, and I'm sure you remember this, going beyond the 11 acres and including everything that encircled over to Little Patuxent as part of the Wilde Lake Village. And unfortunately, the board voted against that, which I thought was a huge error because people did not understand what it meant.
They understand the parameters of the village.
So the bottom line is, because of that, we had no control over what went on. And my question is, and I guess it's maybe for you or for Kristen certainly, is there any way to revisit that so that, I mean, I know that the owners of the businesses there didn't want any other layers of.
Yeah, they came in opposition to including.
Right.
But I think they misunderstood. They thought it was going to impact
their business, but it wouldn't impact, well, it could conceivably impact. Kristen, we just brought up the issue about the businesses along Little Patuxent, and I'm sure you recall when the village, just before the village center renovation, it was while we were in the talks about doing that, and Kimco had asked if we would just do the 11 acres or if we could
For the
enclose.
village center
Right.
Okay.
And so the village board sadly voted down expanding, which is potentially an issue, just in the issue of the pathway, and in other ways as well, because it then removes from us any opportunity to say what they can or can't do. If it were included, then we would have at least another layer of yay or nay on whatever plans would go on there. So is there any way to revisit that, or once it's done, it's
I
done?
need some help with that, Nancy. How do we revisit the village
Is it
center
dis-
boundary?
Yeah,
Well, that was all part of the legislation that was required as part of the village center revitalization process as outlined by the county zoning regs. So, yes, the county zoning regs can be changed.
but what
You know,
a
I
big deal
mean,
that would be.
Yeah, that is a big deal. Now, I've heard that Mary Tay Siggety is interested in revisiting the village center revitalization guidelines now that we've had several years of going through this, and, you know, what needs to now, where that is on her priority list, I have no idea. But, you know, if you remember how long that process was,
Yeah.
I'm sure a change would be maybe not quite as long, but even if it's half as long, that's
Still huge, yeah.
years.
So did we give up something?
Yeah.
We didn't give up anything.
Well, I thought we gave up the
So the
ability to
businesses-
have any say about anything
No.
that went on there.
Well,
We didn't,
no, my understanding was those boundaries would have, any properties within those boundaries would have had to go through that village center redevelopment process.
right.
Of which it affected some or none at all. It was just, I think that the reason that there was such strong opposition, especially from Princeton Sports, was because there was real concern that there would be more layers of bureaucracy.
Well, that's what I
That they would lose
That they,
control.
that they
Right.
might lose some standing right now they have the right to vote. and they have a right to participate as Wilde Lake Village businesses, but
But none of that is, we still have that right to participate.
But-
And if
right.
there were gonna be changes along that corridor, there still would be a county process. It just
Right.
isn't the village center
Right.
revitalization process.
So,
not that
so we
under
have
that
no say
legislation.
whatsoever. So that in other words, when they do change the flyer building, then we would have to go to the county, to the planning board and give testimony about where we stand.
Exactly.
I was just saying that they've,
Yes.
they're trying to put that building back into the core of the buildings
Yes,
available.
the county wants to set.
So I just wanted to make sure that we're there to speak on behalf of Pathway having an input. When the next group of people buy it, it would be nice to be able to have some.
It would be nice to have a covenant thing in it that
Says
gave
there
you,
should be.
it gave you the power.
The last thing I had was, let's see. Sorry. Oh, over at the Bagel Bin, when I was soliciting for garden prizes, Bagel Bin gives a $25 gift certificate, and it was a very nice gift for you. But the one thing that he did bring up was that he gets in early in the morning for work, and it's very, very dark. And he said he has loiterers on the property in the middle of the night. And he said it's kind of scary when he's going in and out that time of the morning. And he said, how come he doesn't see any security in the middle of the night? And he said, who?
Wait, what are we?
Star security.
He's got waiters, the bagel bin early in the morning. Very early in the morning. It's
Okay.
probably in like 4 o'clock or something.
Correct.
They don't work those hours. No, the security is active.
Well, what he is saying is what he's seen is that there should be a presence here for security because all the businesses might be affected. There are people going around.
If anybody is ever going into their business, no matter what time of the day it is, and they see people that don't look like they belong there, they're uncomfortable, they have to call the police. That's the first thing they should be doing, whether or not they think there's Kinko security here or not. If you're uncomfortable in a situation, call the police.
It's like somebody.
No, I want that.
No, but that's exactly, that's the
Yeah,
point,
well,
that's
say
the
it.
guy that's
All right.
there, you know, whatever they.
That's all I have for this evening. I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make such a motion.
Second.
What?
Been moved and seconded to
Adjourn
adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Oh. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. I appreciate it. It's been a long meeting. Nice
Oh, no,
reports,
I
everyone.
never
Thank
go
you.
out to the mailbox.
Nice
It goes out.
participation. Carol,
I'll
at your
ask you.
convenience, Carol, just at your convenience, if I'm able to have a copy of the sign list.
Okay, this is the